We're good. Okay.
Thank you, John. Go for it.
Thanks for coming, everybody, on this blustery day. You see that I'm a very confused person because I'm wearing a suit just because I decided to wear a suit just to be, a little formal, but I'm also wearing a baseball cap. Normally, you don't see people wearing suits and baseball caps, right? My daughters and wife would tell me I have absolutely no fashion sense, which they're probably right. But there's a method to my madness. I'm here to talk about sports analytics. And I'm also a proud faculty member of the Central Michigan University Chippewas. And this is one of their baseball caps, which was given to me. So I wear it with honor. And I wanted to bring it today just to show you what the C looks like. It's a C. Okay, so anyway, we're going to talk about shiny, happy athletes. Now, shiny is, I think there's a song that talks about shiny, happy people or something. Well, I use shiny because those of you that are well-schooled in R know what shiny means, right? And so there is a shiny component to this. So I figured I had to find a way to get it into the title. All right, let's see if I can get this. Go to the, there we go. Okay, so is there a way to make this top banner go away?
Yes. Can we figure it out?
I'm not a Zoom person. Sorry. Thank you. Okay. Sports analytics is been around for a while. Obviously, the professional sports have embraced it first, simply because there's a lot of money in professional sports, and they're always looking for a competitive advantage. But it has trickled down to Division I. The Power Fives all are doing this, right? And the problem is, I find that a lot of the bigger schools, which I would put this one in the club, tend to be a little bit secretive about what they do. Present topics aside, right? Yeah, we don't want to talk about we're not going to talk about current events, but anyway, hey, listen, I'm old enough to remember Dennis Franklin breaking his arm in 1972. Okay, I have been a Michigan football fan since I was very, very tall, this tall, so I remember a lot. So I'm always rooting for the maize and blue, but I don't know what they do to prepare for an opponent. And even up at a MAC school, Central Michigan, we would go maybe talk to the football team. McElwain, he was a receivers coach down here, and we would say, we'd like to maybe get a little involved and try to maybe help, work with you a little bit. And it's very difficult. I don't want to make too many comparisons, but it's kind of like the mafia, okay? You got to be in the club to know what's going on. If you're not in the club, it's really hard to get in the club, right? And so that's the challenge. And that's why I came down here today, because what I want to do is talk to some of you, and I can tell some of you have an interest in sports. Maybe you're statisticians who like sports. Maybe you're sports people who like statistics, okay? Either way, that's fine. We'll meet you in the middle. But it's difficult sometimes to break those doors down, especially the bigger programs, right? The only reason I'm standing here talking to you today is that one of the coaches came to our department and said, we have a new coach and he's really interested in analytics. Can you help us, right? Can you help us? That's what got me in the door. Because otherwise I thought, I'm gonna go over there and they're gonna look at me like, get out of here, we don't share our secrets, right? But they were very receptive to it. So I'm here today to maybe open up Pandora's box a little bit and show you some of the things that I'm working on with the baseball team. And maybe, who knows where this will go for you, right? There's more, there's Power 5 schools, there's smaller schools, there's high schools, there's youth sports camps. There's all types of opportunities for this sort of thing to be used. So what are we doing with this stuff? Well, we use it for player development, right? Obviously, we want the players to get better. What do these players want? Well, here, first of all, most of them are here on scholarship, right? So that's a big plus, right? Getting a degree from this institution as an athletic scholar, that's pretty good, right? We had a pitcher 2 years ago, pretty good, got drafted by the Houston Astros in the second round, not first round, second round. The signing bonus was $900,000. Okay, I'm not exaggerating, $900,000. Now I don't know about you guys. I think I read somewhere that the probability, the odds of making it to the major leagues, or as Kevin Costner says in the show, are like 1 in 10,000, something like that. It's really, really long. So this guy, even though he's a good pitcher, he may never make the show, but he's got $900,000. So if he invests it right, he's set for the rest of his life, right? And he never has to play Major League Baseball. So yeah, there's a lot of money out there. More than so the coaches are trying to help them with their pitch location, faster, with a lot of movement, right? That's the key. Opponents' tendencies, that's kind of a current event topic. What do opponents do, right? There's Steph Curry throwing up a 3, right? NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, what do these teams do? When do they do it? How do they do it? Down in distance, I stole that off Google. I think that's a Broncos. Where's my Denver? Yeah, Denver, right? So that was a Broncos game, but everybody knows about down in distance, right? You're not going to be running a running play on 3rd and 15, right? Things like that. And now I have to do a trivia question because I always like to test my audience. I'm going to test my audience. Who is that person in the upper right-hand corner in the black and white photo?
Babe Ruth.
Yes, you win! I wish I had a prize. Very good. How do you know that's Babe Ruth? He just looks like him, right?
Who's the catcher?
Oh, all right. You got me on that one. But yeah, that's Babe. There's only one guy standing at the plate that looks like that, right? That's got to be an 80, 90-year-old photo from Yankee Stadium, right? But that's the Babe. Big barrel-chested, spindly-legged guy you always saw running around the bases. But yeah, that's Babe. And that's one of my passions. I'm a baseball historian, right? I can tell you 1927, Babe Ruth hit 356, hit 61 home runs. I can't remember how many RBIs he had because I'm getting old, but you get the idea, right? Used to have baseball cards, right? I wish the ones I put in the spokes of my bicycle I still had. They're probably worth a lot of money, right? Like a Mickey Mantle rookie card's worth like $1 million or something. Yeah.
When you are looking at opponents' tendencies, do you see things both from a team level as well as an individual?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the game within the game, right? The pitcher batter thing is the game within the game, right? And then you've got the team, how they adjust to a player, how they move their infielders around. Yeah, so you're right. There's a macro game, then there's the game within the game. And I'm talking to my Buffalo Sabres friend over here. We all know shot velocity is a very important metric for hockey. But I just show you examples of these are things that players do. How do we get them to do it better? And believe it or not, sports analytics involves a lot of big data. I told you the story already. 2 years ago, the baseball coach came. I had to put this up here. We met you guys, U of M, in the NCAA tournament, World Series, whatever you want to call it, baseball. Was it 2 years ago? We played U of M and we beat them 8-2. So that's my claim to fame, right? We beat U of M. We beat U of M. Well, of course, on the gridiron, it was a different story, right? As you might imagine. I think we're playing U of M next year at the Big House. So that should be fun, right? So yeah, this is not a good time to be playing U of M. They're back, right? So anyway, so CMU and U of M have had a bit of a history, right? Actually, CMU actually beat Michigan State a couple of times, so I don't think they've ever beaten U of M. But we'll see what happens. But as I said, I started with the baseball people. Football and basketball are coming if we can never get into their mafia group, right? It's been really challenging. But right now, I have a group of students, about 10 of them. They are actuarial science majors, they are statistics majors, they are computer science majors. And tomorrow, we're going to be in Pierce Hall in my domain up in 403 in the stat lab. And the baseball pitching coach comes over. And he is working with us to develop all sorts of analytical tools that I'm going to share with you. And last week he had a kid from the Cubs on Zoom telling us about what he does as an analyst for the Chicago Cubs. Tomorrow's going to be somebody from the Mets. So this coach is connected, right? And so he's bringing in people to inspire my students to try to get them more interested in what we're going on. And so we have weekly meetings and we do that for like an hour a week, just, you know, and the goal is to try to help the baseball team. And I'm going to show you in just a second the kind of things that we're doing. We use our Shiny. That's the first thing we started with. We're making some interactive web pages. I'll show you that in just a second. Our 3 areas that we're focusing on are advanced scouting, social media, and then a device called Trackman that I'm going to talk about here in just a minute. So this is Trackman. We got one. we had a very generous alumni, buy one for us, 30 grand, okay? I'm sure they have one here somewhere, right? I'm sure the baseball team has a Trackman, but we were like the first school in the MAC to get one, okay? What it is, it's this, looks like a some kind of Wi-Fi antenna or digital antenna. I don't know what you want to describe it as. I have a TV antenna at home that kind of looks like that. You hang it up in front of the press box behind home plate, okay? This thing is amazing. Everywhere that ball goes, Trackman sees it. Not only does it see it, it knows how fast it is moving. Pitchers. It knows the spin rate. Can you imagine? RPMs. Now, Ted Williams had legendary eyesight, 2010. He was a fighter pilot in the Korean War. He had 2010 vision. I doubt he could tell you how fast the ball is spinning, right? Ophthalmology, right? 2010 vision is pretty good, right? So this Trackman is like, tells you everything the ball is doing. How fast, high, low, in, out, whatever it's doing. I mean, I have to get a mechanical engineering professor here to describe dynamics, right? To figure out how many ways can we describe the motion of a baseball in three-dimensional space. And of course, time is the fourth dimension, right? So now we're getting really complicated. But this Trackman just gives you just reams of, dare I say it, big data, right? Lots of information. But the thing is, we have managers sitting up in the press box, and they have to tell Trackman what is going on. Hey, the ball is moving. Hey, that was a strike. That was a ball. That was a fly ball to center field. Out. That was a base hit. That was a home run. Because Trackman doesn't know what's going on Trackman doesn't know baseball. Trackman just knows what the ball is doing. So there is that interaction between managers in the stadium, in the press box, and the device, right? You still need somebody to do the interaction, right? It's kind of like those of us old enough to remember stepwise regression. When it came out, it was going to solve all the world's problems, right? So people started showing you that, no, those automatic search algorithms, you still got to have an experienced, knowledgeable analyst to kind of, help the algorithm out a little bit, right? So it's the same kind of idea. Trackman is not automatic. We still need the smart human to let them know what's going on. Trackman is big data. What happens is that after every game, okay, Trackman will upload all of its data into the cloud, all right? So it goes up into the cloud, and then we use something like FileZilla or some other, FTP to bring it down to our computer, and then we can start to mess around with it. It comes in usually CSV format. That's just the way it comes. And I counted them. There's 167 columns in this spreadsheet of every possible thing you could think of with this baseball, plus things like the day, the time, the pitcher, the batter, the ball, the strike, all the things that could happen. And every one of those rows, like a patient, is a pitch, right? The ball in play, right? If the pitcher throws a ball, whatever happens on that sequence, that's a row, okay? If it's a home run, it's part of that row. If it's an out, it's part of that row. If it's a strike, it's part of that row. Then the pitcher gets the ball back, we do it again, right? So if a pitcher is doing a bullpen session, right, just practicing, right, we can record those 30, 40 throws that pitcher is making, just call that like a block, right? Like a session, right? And if it's recording the name of the pitcher and the date, so we can go back and say, all right, we want this pitcher on this date. We just want to look at those pitches and see, what they did on that day. Was their fastball, well, how fast was their fastball going, right? How fast was it spinning? Did they lose velocity? Did they get tired, right? What's going on? How much movement did they have? Were they locating their pitches right? It even looks at where they let go of the ball. The keyhole, as Jim Price used to say, right? Where the ball gets let go. Got to be consistent, right? A pitcher's going to let go of the ball at the same place every time, right? Even if they're throwing what's called a changeup, and I have to explain this to my international students, right? How a 90-mile-an-hour fastball to an 80-mile-an-hour changeup. it looks the same, everything looks the same, except the ball is moving 10 miles an hour slower. And you say, so what? That makes all the difference in the world to the hitter. 10 miles an hour is like just enough time to start your swing too fast, right? It makes all the difference in the world when you're playing at that level, right? It really does. A couple miles an hour can do everything. So this is what our shiny app looks like. And if I was really, I have it in POSIT, okay? I have it in POSIT, and I could open it up and run it for you. But I don't want to mess around with it right now. This is what it looks like, okay? So what we would do is I blacked out the picture. There's normally a name there, right? But you have a queue of names, right? So I want this picture, and here's the range that I want the date of those pitches. So you can already understand how a spreadsheet works, right? It's gonna, like Tidyverse, it's just gonna filter out the spreadsheet. It's gonna filter out that picture, which is a column of data, right? On these date ranges, right? So it's just filtering, right? Just like you would in Tidyverse, right? It's just filtering it out. And then it's gonna analyze those pitches that we've looked at. So you can see how many changeups did this pitcher throw, how many fastballs, how many sliders. I'm not even sure what all of these metrics mean. I'm still learning them, but swing percentage, chase percentage, whiff percentage, whatever all those mean, right? But they're all things that Trackman will compute for us. But notice that there were 158 pitches and there were only 6 hits, right? Which must have been, I'm not sure, this is over a long period of time, right? From February to October. So it must be his entire body of work. But anyway, you can see how it compiles everything based off of the spreadsheet. So it summarizes it, all right?
Are these all CMU pitchers?
Yeah, these are CMU pitchers. Yeah.
Do you do this for the visiting pitchers when they come or no?
Yes, we could. Yes, we could. And if they had a Trackman, we could go up and they give us permission, right? We could go up with the cloud and get it too, but we're the only school that's got one right now in the MAC. So I think, I don't know who else, I heard Miami might be getting one, but we're the only school right now that has one. But because we have rich alumni, right? So they're helping us out. So they just put out $500,000 prescription turf field for us, right? So that's big for us, right? But Ward Manual thinks nothing of spending $500,000, but for us, that's some pretty big medicine. But anyway, so you get the idea that there's lots of ways of slicing and dicing 167 columns in a Excel spreadsheet. And if you're an R programmer, and I don't know if you are, or I don't want to assume too much, you understand how to filter data, how to subset data, how to do conditionals on data to get it the way you want it, all right? So it's just nothing more than big data, right? If you had a data set of patients at an ophthalmology clinic or at a heart clinic, it'd be the same thing, right? You're just slicing and dicing the data to get what you want. Here's a heat map. Some of you might have heard of a heat map. It's, again, I'm not inventing anything new. This is a heat map. They've been around for a long time. What it means is that the more red it is, spatially, that's the ball is going in that spot more, okay? So the more red you see, that's where the ball tends to end up. Now, the first time I looked at this, I said, oh, if you can see it, I don't know if you can, but the one on the far right says slider, okay? That's the type of pitch that a pitcher will throw. What does a slider do? Well, it's supposed to slide, right? It's supposed to go down. So in other words, the batter's standing there, here comes the ball, and you're thinking it's a fastball, I'm gonna swing at it, but it dips. Missed it, right? So I'm thinking, well, that slider's not sliding. It's staying up in what we say is up in the zone, right? It looks like it's up in the zone. But I showed this to the pitching coach, and he said, no, this is good. I said, it is? He's like, yeah, because you want the slider to move to the pitcher's glove side. This guy's a lefty. You're looking at it from behind the pitcher. So the ball's going to the right. If you can see, it's going breaking to the right. He's like, that's actually a good pitch. I'm like, it is? Looks to me like it's up in the zone. He's like, no. He says, that's actually doing what it's supposed to do. I'm like, that's why I'm not a baseball coach, right? Because I don't know. But the point I'm trying to make is this is just a heat map. If you've ever maybe worked with heat maps before, I'm into spatial statistics, so I do a lot of heat maps and bubble plots and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just an old heat map. We're just applying it to this sports analytics data. Okay, that's all we're doing.
So each heat map represents one pitch?
No, that's the body of work. Okay. That's the. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. You're right. Let's say that's like that's like the 158 pitches he threw.
Okay.
So is it a heat map of the arrival or a heat map of the projection of the path?
No, it's where it hit the catcher's glove. So, yeah, I mean,
I was thinking of it as a slider on that with the.
right, I mean, I'm trying to figure it out too, but no, that's where it terminates, right? It's like a somehow, I gotta figure this out, but somehow there's like a GPS where it is, right? Where it goes. But this camera is just amazing, right? It's this high speed, it's like a radar system. It's like a radar and a camera. It's just pretty incredible. They got them for golf. They got Trackman for golf. They got Trackman for baseball. They got all kinds of stuff. So anyway, and here's the other one, right? Again, what is this? You know, you could call it, oh, it's a time series plot or it's a longitudinal plot, right? That's all it is, right? We did this in our first stat class, right? But again, we can see that the fastball tends to hold its velocity pretty well. So let's just say this was a game, right? Maybe I just want to look at this pitcher for this specific game. Now, the pitcher's not going to probably, he might throw 80 pitches, probably going pretty deep into the game, but you can see that over the course of the game is the pitcher losing velocity. Now, an experienced coach can sit in the dugout and they can tell if a pitcher is getting tired, okay? You don't need Trackman to tell you that the pitcher is getting tired. But, you know, it's still a piece of information that will help, right? I mean, there's some old jokes in baseball about Bob Feller when he was pitching and they couldn't see his ball he was throwing so fast. And so the ump calls a strike and the batter says, how do you know that was a strike? And the ump said, well, it sounded low, you know, or sounded, whatever, it was a ball, sounded low, right? Couldn't see it, right? It was going so fast, right? But that's an old baseball joke. But anyway, these are just normal, garden variety, run-of-the-mill, stat 101 plots and summary statistics, and we're just putting them on a piece of paper with ggplot, making them look pretty. Yes, sir?
So a big replication, I mean, I doubt that at the college level would be that granulated, but isn't the speed slightly deviating for different pitches based on, like if you got your scouting report and you're throwing 90 miles an hour, there's a certain grip that the faster you throw to that kid.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And that's what I'm teaching my students right now. We have some international students in our group. One of them's from Jordan, one's from Ghana, and one is from India. Now, the India student knows cricket, but he doesn't know baseball. And so when the pitching coach comes, you are absolutely right. And it's a great question. The way you grip the ball determines everything. There's what you call a four-seam fastball. I wish I brought a baseball. But if you look at a baseball, you can hold it in such a way that your fingers will touch the seams 4 times, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a four-seam fastball. That's like the bread and butter pitch for every pitcher. In the major leagues, the best four-seam fastballs can go upwards of 100 miles an hour, maybe a little more, okay? So that's pretty fast. But now we rotate the ball, and we throw what's called a two-seam fastball. It doesn't go as fast, but it has more movement, okay? And then we get into curveballs and cutters and sliders and change-ups. And on our team, pitcher might have 3, maybe 4 pitches, all right? I'm listing all these pitches. No pitcher is gonna have that many pitches. They're gonna have their fastball, they're gonna have their curveball. After that, who knows, right? Because every pitcher's got a fastball, right? That's what got them to their scholarship, right? Their fastball. But that's the way it works. And so what the pitching coaches will do is look at these pitches and pick the best ones. And now let's work on making these pitches the best they can be. What do we want pitches to do? We want them to move fast, but we want them to move, okay? And the best pitchers in the world can throw 100 miles an hour with what we call late break on the ball. Okay, I mean, I remember going to see Roger Clemens pitch in Cleveland, and I could hear the ball cutting the air. I don't know how these guys can stand in there, hearing a ball coming at you that fast. That's why they get paid what they get paid, right? I mean, it's just amazing that Miguel Cabrera could stand in there and just whack one 300 feet into the seats. The thought of somebody throwing something like that at me would terrify me, right?
So this analysis is after the fact.
Right.
I'm wondering, are people doing real-time monitoring so you can say, hey, you're getting tired?
You could.
Well, you could, but I'm just wondering, there's a lot of ethical questions.
This is right. Technically, in Major League games like in America, they have radar guns, right? So you can watch what the pitcher's throwing. So it's shared for the fans, but you're right, these are all interesting questions. As the technology gets better and better, how do we manage this, right? But when I'm sitting up in the press box with one of the managers, how fast was that one? 89. How fast was that one? 92. How fast was that? I mean, they know. So it wouldn't take much to just pick up the phone or text somebody. So yes, that's a great point about with great powers come great responsibility, right? Isn't that what they told Superman? With great power comes great responsibility. So yeah, I think there's a whole bunch of stuff here that needs to be, I mean, all the angst we're having over AI right now, right? All the angst we're having over Chat GPT and AI, this stuff is just getting started, right? The professional level, you know, that's a little different animal because there's so much money involved. But what about the collegiate level? I don't know. These are all good questions. Location, that's just where the ball's going, right? That's again, from the pitcher's perspective, now you look at that, you say, well, that ball's all over the place, right? But they're color coded by pitch, right? So you can see where the fastball is going, where the changeup is going, and that rectangle in the middle is like the strike zone, right? So it's really not all that bad. But hey, let's hear it for Gigi Plot. Anybody out there know Gigi Plot? Who knows Gigi Plot? Little bit. I'm learning Gigi Plot too, right? I'm an old R Commander guy, right? My first PhD student showed me R Studio. I'm like, wow, this is pretty good. This is a lot better than R Commander. And then Tidyverse came along, and I'm like, what's this? What's this pipe stuff? You know, what's this? Percent arrow? What is this? And now I love it, right? That Haley Wickham, is that his name? That Tidyverse, I'm sold, man. I'm sold. So, but it takes time, right? I mean, I've been using R for 20 years, and they're always changing stuff, and like keeping up with it is a real chore, right? And then I saw R Shiny for the first time. I'm like, what is this? This isn't R, you know, but you learn it, right? You learn it. So that's what we're doing. But we're trying, the coaches are honest with us. They're saying, we got this cool toy. We don't know what to do with it. That's why we came to you guys for help. We got this toy and we don't know how to play with it. Some of us are old enough to remember the first IBM PCs that came into the academic building or the offices I am. I worked for General Motors at the time. I was an engineer. And they brought in this IBM PC XT. I said, what's that? They said, it's your new computer. I said, computer? What am I gonna do with the computer? I don't know, you figure it out. So for 6 months, I used it to pick lottery tickets and help my boss figure out his mortgage payment. It's about all I could do with it. Then we started figuring things out. And look where we are 40 years later, right? I think we've done pretty well. But this is kind of like where we're at right now. I mean, we're getting all these, again, we went over to Schembecker Hall, went over to the athletic department. They probably know a lot of stuff. They probably know more than I know, right? But they're not talking, right? So we have to figure this out. And then better, yeah, we go over to help them, right? Maybe you help your kids' team, right? Maybe your high school team, maybe a club team. Maybe a high school team or a summer camp, you know, or even a small college, right? Small colleges don't have the kind of money to do this stuff, but you know, in some ways you can be helpful.
Does Trackman provide any of the interfaces you're talking about?
Yeah, they provide a lot of support. For 30 grand, they better, you know. But yeah, they come over and they show you how to set everything up, and they're only a phone call away if you need something. And if there's software upgrades and you know, things of that nature. Yeah, they're pretty good about that. But, you know, we spent 30 grand on it. So, I mean, you know, I would expect a little bit of customer support, right? But yeah, they're pretty good. They're pretty good about that. Batting metrics, and again, I know it's hard to see this from a distance, but the two things for a batter are when you hit the ball, exit velocity and launch angle, right? Now, I'm not sure what the launch angle is supposed to be, the best launch angle, but I know that metrics have told me that the best hitters will hit over 100 miles an hour off the bat. Yes, sir.
30 degrees.
30 degree. Thank you. See, you should be playing ball with me. You can coach me on all this stuff. 30-degree launch angle is the best angle. I would have said 45, right? Because I'm an engineer, right? 1 square root of 2, right? But anyway.
It depends on what you're trying to do though, right?
Well, yeah, what 30 degrees for home runs, for double?
Yeah.
For home runs, 30 degrees. Wow, I would have said 45. Shows you what I know, right? But that's from my calculus class from a long time ago. But yeah, 30 degree. And then launch velocities, they call it exit velocity. We have to, you know, exit velocity over 100 miles an hour, right? So if the pitch is coming in at 90, and it's leaving at 100. Can you imagine the forces that are being generated? No, how does that bat, that's an ash bat, by the way. The wooden bats are made of ash, but now we use aluminum bats, right?
Not in college.
Well, yeah, I know. I hate that clink, clink, clink. I used to love the crack of the bat, right? But still, can you imagine the forces that are being generated? It's just incredible. Coming in at 90 and leaving at 100. That's a change of momentum, man. That's a big change of momentum. So, okay, so I talked about Trackman, right? Trackman is for player development. We want to make you faster, make your ball move more. A major league curveball should spin around 2,500 RPMs. That's the gold standard. We can get our guys to do about 1,500, right? But the better pitchers, we can get up in 16, 17, 1,800. The idea is that you've got these seams on the ball, these raised thread seams. It's not a smooth ball. It's like horsehide with these threads on it. You want to get on those seams and torque it, spin it. We call it spinning it. I'm not even a baseball player, but I understand spinning the ball. The more you can spin that ball, the more it's going to move. And the more it's going to move, the less chances that somebody's going to hit it. Okay. So that's what we try to do. That's our toy number one. Toy number two is called Synergy. This is a company that takes the video, they take video of pitcher, batter encounters, the game within the game. That's why the Japanese embraced baseball so much after World War II. The GIs played it in Japan, but Japan really liked that something about the Bushido code or whatever, but the pitcher batter competition, right? You know, one-on-one. There's something about the game within the game. So this is the game within the game. Basically, a pitcher, this is a game, it's like a chess match, right? Pitcher's going to throw a pitch that he thinks you can't hit, and you're trying to figure out what the pitcher's going to throw so you can hit it, right? That's what got Houston in trouble, right? Remember that cheating scandal? They had a system where they would call in, they could figure out what the pitch was by the way the pitcher was gripping the ball, and they would call it in to the dugout. And these guys were so sophisticated, they would bang on a trash can. And if you heard the trash can, you knew it was a fastball. And if you heard something else, and believe it or not, these major league hitters are so good that if you know the pitch that's coming, you have a huge advantage, right? If you know it's a fastball, you're waiting for fastball, you're gonna kill it, right? That's just the way it is. These guys are so good, right? They're so elite. So this is an edited version of the pitcher batter encounters. What do coaches want to know? They want to know in a certain count, balls and strikes, what is a pitcher going to throw? What is this pitcher's best pitch? Or what's this pitcher going to throw to try to get you out? And so something as simple, this is a little scouting report that I got from the coach. And he was at Eastern before he came up to Central. He was our pitching coach. But he watches Synergy, and over here are his notes. And then over here are like just the basic statistics. So the only thing I want to point out to you here is that the first player, Matthews, you can see his name there. He got drafted by the major leagues, by the way. He was a great hitter for Kent State, okay? Great hitter for Kent State, one of their best hitters. You can see 339, if you can see that. And that's pretty strong batting average. Okay, so the guy hits 339, okay? And it shows fastball 302, off speed 327. Left-handed pitchers, he hits 335. Right-handed pitchers, he hits 306. Let me tell you something. If you did that in the major leagues, you would be in Cooperstown in the Hall of Fame. That's strong performance. So the coach will get that data off of, Synergy, what they do, but then he makes notes to himself. So what did his notes say? Never the same sequence, okay? What that means is that this guy is so good that you never want to throw the same pitch twice in a row, okay? Because if he misses it the first time, he's not going to miss it the second time. Miguel Cabrera was legendary for that. Rumor has it that Miguel Cabrera was so good that he would intentionally swing and miss at a ball just to get you to throw it again.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true or not. They said the guy had a computer for a brain. He was like an engineer. I mean, I'm a huge Mickey fan, right? I just love the guy. But a $30 million contract aside, but anyway, he would. Is that possible? Would he actually intentionally miss the ball? Come on, throw it again, and then it'd be over on over on Trumbull Street or whatever street Comerica's on now. I remember Michigan and Trumbull, but it's not Michigan and Trumbull anymore, but you get the idea. So the best players in the world, we're talking the elites, they can do stuff like this, all right? They can do stuff like this. I can't. Maybe you guys can, probably not, or sorry, but it's probably true. But it's just amazing. We're talking these athletes are making incredible amounts of money. Why are they making incredible amounts of money? Because they can do incredible things. They can do things that I can't do. I couldn't hit a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. Probably couldn't even see it, you know? But so coaches will sit down before a game, and this is legal scouting of opponents, right? You watch the film, you make recordings, and you try to figure out, how are we going to pitch this guy? How do we pitch this guy? Here's a contingency table. This is very simple. This is stats 101. But the count is balls and strikes, right? So 0-0 means first pitch. Looks like this pitcher throws 60% fastballs, right? First pitch. So if you're up at the plate, probably going to see a fastball the first pitch. Let's say he gets a strike on you, 0-1. Still going to throw a fastball. So the count is the situation, right? The conditional, right? Balls and strikes. What's this pitcher going to throw under those circumstances? So that could be a chi-square test, right? Chi-square test for independence. If you want to do multi-dimensional, you could do a Cochran-Mantel-Hansen test, right? There's all kinds of cool stuff you could do with this. But most importantly, you want to figure out, how can I help the team? How can I help the coach? What does the coach want? Okay. And then I stole this off the internet. I know you can't see it, but this is Justin Verlander. But what this is called a decision tree. And I'll bet some of you have heard of decision trees before. It's actually a nice function in R. It does nice decision trees, but it does conditionals, right? It says under this condition, what could happen, right? What's the likelihood of this happening? What's the likelihood of this happening? And so you can break down a pitcher and try to dissect what they're going to throw and when they're going to throw it. Any kind of advantage you can get, right? That's really what it's all about. So we can do decision trees, right? Again, pretty complicated, but maybe you could trim it up and distill it down and get a nice decision tree, right? This is another thing you could do. This is one of the things I'm going to be looking at doing. So what can you do? That's why I put the ice cream in there, right? Lots of flavors. As far as sports analytics goes, anything you can imagine is possible. You have to understand that a lot of these coaches don't know what this stuff can do, right? They don't know. That's where you come in, right? You can show them things and say, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? How can we get ourselves best prepared for our opponent? What do the coaches need? Well, ask them. Ask them. That's how you get into the mafia, right? Give them something that they want, maybe. What are the other teams doing? What are other teams doing out there? Copy them. Want to know some schools that are really into this and doing a great job? Here's a name that probably doesn't go over very well around here. Appalachia State. They have an incredible sports analytics program. Troy, is it Troy State or Troy? The one down in Alabama. They are really big into this, right? So these small schools are really into this. And they churn out some really good analysts, right? And where do these analysts go? Well, they work for the Cubs, they work for the Mets, they work for the Tigers, they work all over the place, right? So we're a slight disadvantage here because the athletic program here is so huge, right? It is huge, but there's also opportunities, right? There are opportunities, but the smaller schools need the help too. So you just never know. So in summary, big data is everywhere. Even in sports, we all know this. We're in the data business. Big data is in sports too. It's all over the place. It's limited only by your imagination. If you can think of it, it's possible, right? And you just don't know, right? All these things I've shown you are things that other people came up with. Come up with your own stuff, right? Help your team, help your coach, make yourself marketable, right? Depending on where you want to work, right? I find that the new generation of coaches and managers are certainly more receptive to stuff. They get it, right? They get it. Because
they know, they've seen Moneyball. They know that people have made money.
Yes, exactly. Billy Beane, as I mentioned in my abstract in the 90s, proved that if you use analytics on players, and pick the right players. That's what the Tigers GM's trying to do now too, right? Pick the right players, you can build a good team, right? His thing is strike zone management, right? He doesn't want players that are swinging at everything. He wants players that are disciplined in the strike zone stuff. That's his thing. So yeah, the new gen, this stuff is there. Now again, every professional team has all this stuff. They're way out there, right? They got all this stuff. Big Power 5 schools, I know they've got this stuff over there. I just don't know to what extent they use it, right? But the smaller schools, the mid-majors, even the high schools, right? They haven't touched this stuff yet. So who knows where it's going to go, right? But it's there. All right. So if you're interested in sports analytics, best advice I can give you is to get involved. Don't wait for them to come to you. You go to them. And you say, listen, I've got some coding skill. I've got some programming skill. There's some things that I know other teams are doing. Maybe we can work on some stuff together, right? I've got a couple of students that are doing this. John, who made my our shiny page, he just had an interview with the Mariners, right? Hoping he gets the job, right? We don't know. I don't know how many hundreds of people are interviewing with the Mariners, but if he got a job with the Mariners, that'd be great, right? But you just never know where it's going to take you, right? And even if you're getting a job in some other, as an analyst for something else, this is still good stuff because you're taking data and you're turning it into something useful. And that's what it's all about. And it certainly is nice that you happen to like sports, right? So that's always a piece of it also. So that's all I got. So you've asked some really good questions. Is there anything else I can talk about? Anything else we can chat about? Yes.
So suppose you were advising the Chippewa football team. What kind of recommendations would you make as far as recruiting, considering the constraints and, the game of football? And
That's a very good point. What I would say to them is what the baseball coach told me. You want to embrace this stuff and you want to get people involved, because when you are recruiting, and this is what coach told me, he says, I want to sit down with a kid that we're recruiting and we'd like to offer this kid a scholarship, right? But everybody is offering this kid a scholarship. What else do we have to offer? Mom and dad, let me show you the sorts of things that we do with our players. Let me show you what Trackman can do. Let me show you what Synergy does. Let me show you how we took this player over here and we developed him and made him better. And guess what? The Houston Astros signed him for $900,000. So it is a recruiting tool. And I think you've actually given me a great idea for approaching the football team, because up to this point, all they've wanted from us is they want us to track their workout schedule with a Fitbit or something, like they don't want us to come home. They don't want to tell us anything, right? They don't want us to know anything. Yeah, and I'm not here to spread your secrets. I'm here to help myself and to help you. But think about it, right? Think about injury reports for football teams, right? You look at the Michigan, they're playing Purdue this weekend. Let's look at the injury report. What's it going to say? Well, so-and-so has a lower body injury. A lower body injury. What could that be, right? Well, you know why they're saying that, right? They don't want to give anybody a competitive advantage, right? They probably don't even want to fill out the injury report, right? But they have to, right? They're required to do it. But so it's very much a closed society. So recruiting is actually an excellent way to get in the door, I think. So I think that's a great idea. It's beautiful. That's what I'm going to go talk to McElwain about. I heard today there was somebody on his sidelines during the Michigan State game, so he's something's going on with that guy. I don't know. That guy was on the sidelines. I don't know. This is crazy. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I know there's rules, but I mean, coaches have been swapping tape of teams and stuff. They scout each other all the time. I don't know how you can manage something like that. Teams are always looking for a competitive advantage, but I'm not in the NCAA, so I'm not going to get into all that. I don't know what the rules are and why they do what they do.
Is there current in college, is there communication to the batter, for example, through an earpiece? They can say, this pitcher, you 60% of the time.
Not yet. I have not seen. Now, that's not to say they couldn't do it, right? I mean, what if you had a Bluetooth in your ear? I don't know.
Smart glasses that displays the stats of the
right.
pitcher.
You know what? As I said, all things are possible, but I haven't seen that yet. you know what? Who knows what people are doing out there, right? Who knows what they're doing? And you're probably not gonna find out about it until they get caught, right? But, right, the technology is allowing us to do things that, yeah. Now they have microphones and headpieces for NFL quarterbacks, right? Don't they at least have the tape on the arm, and now they got the earpiece, right? So I know they're doing it in the NFL. I don't know what they're doing on the sidelines in colleges and stuff. I'm not in the mafia, so I don't know these things. It is a war. So I wonder about all this stuff, you know, you're always gonna look for a competitive advantage, right?
Do you know if Trackman is available for sports that are not so discretized? Like football starts a play and play, baseball starts pitch and pitch. How about something like soccer or ice hockey?
You know what? I know of golf and I know of baseball. After that, I'd have to go to the Trackman website. I'm sure if there was a need or a demand for it, they'd come up with some way of developing it. But I would just say go to Trackman and they would probably be able to tell you that. Yes, sir.
I was gonna say, I don't know if like it's Trackman specifically, but there's definitely like wearable tech for like football, soccer, and like.
For communication or what do they do with it?
A lot of it is like tracking player movement around the field. So like you wear it and it'll detect things like how fast the player is moving.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, this stuff is moving really fast, right? I mean, don't tell me that there's teams out there aren't always looking for a competitive edge, right? Especially if they've got generous alumni, right, that are willing to give them some technology that might give them an advantage, right?
You just wanna make sure you're not doing things unethically, like throw this pitch to this guy and you're likely to cause him to twist his ankle or.
You're right. It's the same kind of arguments we have about AI, right? How do you manage this? Where do you draw the line? What are the rules, right? These are all, so I feel like even though this stuff is really well entrenched in this professional sports, we're in the infancy here. We're still trying to figure it out. So I don't know. We'll see where it goes, but yes, sir.
Yes, I have a question about cross-contamination of classes and how much, I mean, if you know, you're saying, you know, they're on the call and you call Trackman and they come in and they reconfigure if something's not working. But to what extent can the team actually tweak the breakdown? Because it's the exact same lookout, it's the exact same exit point. The only thing that really differs between changeup and fastball, say, is the velocity.
Right.
Not really RPM. So for instance, in the major leagues, and this is much more of a trend, Spencer Strider, the starting pitcher, can throw heat over 100 miles an hour, and his changeup is at the speed of some older guys like, say, Rich Hill, who throws like an 88-mile-an-hour fastball. That's Strider's changeup. So if you're trying some form of I'm just thinking like naive Bayesian classifier between the two types.
Right.
There would be a lot of cross-contamination of classes, but can you adjust it pitcher by pitcher so that, you know, in Central Michigan baseball, you know, someone comes on and throws a bullpen set. Like, can you manually tweak the classes so that, say, the break between his, I don't know, fastball and changeup is 84 miles an hour, as opposed to somebody else having a different, so like, is Trackman adjustable in that way? Because I'm thinking, you know, on a larger scale, it would be an issue in terms of.
Well, Trackman is just reporting what it sees, right? It's just saying, this is what I see. It basically saying, this is where the ball is, this is how fast it's moving, this is what it's doing. It's just a measuring device. I'm not sure I understand cross contamination.
So Trackman specifically for Central Michigan, all you're tracking, you're not making predictive.
Nope, we're not making any predictions. That's where you come in. Right? No, Trackman's a measuring device. That's all it is.
There's an automatic engine similar to Trackman in MLB. I mean, when you're watching box scores on the MLB app or something,
right.
It tells you how fast it went and what it was, whether it was a changeup. And I think those parameters are tuned to each specific pitch?
Yes, Trackman can do that. Trackman will predict what they think the pitch is, right? But more often than not, they're wrong.
Okay.
And it sounds like he said when they classify it, they have people, while Trackman is doing.
Trackman will say, this is a fastball, but the guy in the booth will say, no, that was his curveball. You know, Trackman isn't that smart. That's the problem. So maybe there's some ways to fine tune it. I don't know. I just think it's amazing.
Bringing up the point about why Trackman is wrong. That's what you're talking about, you know?
Well, possibly with the evolution of the game, like soon there will be kids in college throwing 100-mile-an-hour.
Right, that's right. You know, the data is the data, and you can always write algorithms to fine tune that, right? I would be more comfortable having you write some code to discriminate pitches as opposed to letting Trackman tell me, because Trackman's very naive. Trackman is one size fits all. I mean, I've looked at the data and I've seen somebody throw 90 miles an hour and Trackman says it's a changeup. It's not a changeup, you know?
It could be.
Well, at the major league level, it would be, but it's not gonna be at Central Michigan University, so your point is well taken. But yes, you could write, I mean, we could call this data cleaning, data scrubbing, we could call it classifier, you could call it whatever you want. But yes, I would say a good analyst would be much more capable of writing discriminating software to clean the data and to make it more accurate than Trackman would. Trackman's just like standing on the scale and reading the number, right? How much do I weigh, right? But if you want to figure out, well, here's my weight, here's my height, here's my BMI, here's my heart rate, here's how long I'm gonna live, you need to write that algorithm. I wouldn't rely on Trackman to do that. So we do need people like that. We do, we really do. This is what I'm trying to explain to my students. Don't read, it's just a measuring tool. It's just a measuring tool. We need the analysts. We need the people that can code to do these things. So you're right. I hear you say naive Bayesian classifiers. Like, wow, we're gonna have some fun here, you know. But no, that's you're right. You're right. But don't give Trackman too much credit. It's pretty amazing what it can do, but it's like playing chess against an algorithm, right? It's just not always going to be.
Well, it's a professional thing, and it essentially, everybody would be using that classification. So you want.
Right. It's a naive classifier is what it is. All pitchers are the same, right? And I don't know if Trackman has the ability to fine tune it or not, right?
Maybe for 130,000.
But I know I can write some script to do it, so I'm happy to do that, right? If this, right? Because every pitcher is only gonna have 3 or 4 pitches, right? So once you know what the pitcher is, you got it down to 3 pitches, right? So now it's just velocity and movement. That's all it is.
And then also, if I may, so like going back to the first question that I asked, I think I should rephrase it a little more. So like, for instance, pitchers like, again, going back to Rachel's example, there are only a few of them, but how would you deal if a kid would show up in Central Michigan and say, well, my fastball is very situational. Like if on the scouting report, I see that the opposing batter really hits, the faster you throw, basically there's correlation, the further the ball's gonna go.
Right.
Right, I don't have a really good tail on my fastball, so I'm going really situational. With power hitters, I'm gonna throw a slightly slower fastball, like at 92 mile an hour. But I'm gonna throw 98 at someone who, you know, does not really hit for power. So
Right.
it's just even within fastball, even the mechanics are the same, the curveball, there are differences.
There's a lot of nuances, and truthfully, I would not expect an 18 or 19-year-old to have that insight to be able to do that. But his pitching coach would. That's why he's got a pitching coach. Aaron Hilt's our pitching coach. And I've seen him watch a guy throw and say, you're dragging your right foot. And how do you know that? Because I've been doing it for a while. You drag your right foot. So he stops dragging his right foot and the fastball goes up by 3 miles an hour, right? So it's like these guys, these coaches have been, that's why they're coaches, right? They're there to make you better, but Trackman's trying to take it to another level. But to answer your question, I would say the kid may think these things and maybe he'll be right? But the coach and Trackman together, maybe they can all reach some consensus on that. Probably kids probably got a small sample size too. But anyway, Yeah, all those things are possible. It's the game within the game, right? I mean, they can take something off their fastball. I mean, they can throw it at a little different arm angle. There's all kinds of ways to mess with the batters, right? I remember reading that Justin Verlander would save a little bit for the 7th and 8th inning, and then he would touch 100 miles an hour. Before that, it was 95, 96. The late game, he geared it up to 100 miles an hour. These guys are just incredible what they can do, right? These athletes, way beyond anything I'll ever be able to do. That's why I'm a coder, right? So anyway, what else, my friends? Good questions, by the way, and I'm glad you're showing a lot of interest in this. Yes, sir.
So have you worked on advising and the batting order, Central Michigan University tells you we're playing next week against, I don't know, U Beach. This is what we know about their features. How should I choose my own batters to follow in?
That would be nirvana, right? I mean, obviously, probably the most important metric for a coach is how well do they hit a right-handed pitcher, how well do they hit a left-handed pitcher. Lefty on lefty is a very difficult scenario for a lot of baseball players, because if you're a left-handed batter, the left-handed pitcher, the ball's going behind his ear. You can't see the ball. You can't see the ball until he lets go of it. So a lot of decisions that a coach will make will be based on how well a player hits different types of pitchers. And again, that's analytics in its infancy. Okay, that was probably one of the first things that people knew. They said, hey, he hits right-handed and left-handers differently. So we do the splits now, right? You go on ESPN, you can see how they hit a right-hander, how they hit a left-hander. And if a player can't hit a left-hander and it's late in the game, you're gonna bring a lefty in to pitch to him, right? So it's all situational and it's all strategic, but you are right. The more information you have, the better decision you can make, right? As long, of course, it's not an over-parameterized model, right? We don't want an over-parameterized model, but we want enough information to make good decisions. And so, setting a batting order would definitely be an important decision that this could help us do. What else? Are we good? You've been a great audience. Thank you very much. And I'll see you at the football game next fall when Central Michigan comes down here to play at the Big House. Maybe you guys will give me some points for that game. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe like 40 points.